Welcome to Penn Engineering Online's admissions webinar. This is actually day 4 of a webinar series that we're hosting this week, and we're so excited. It's been such a great week. So this is the See Yourself, Be Yourself webinar series, and all week long, we've had groups of current students who have been panelists on our webinars, and they've been sharing their stories and sharing all great advice, and it's been a fabulous week. So today we have with us great students. They're our group of students, our students of color, and they're going to be giving you some great information and again, explaining their journeys and what it's like to be a student here at Penn Engineering Online. Tomorrow we finish up the series, day 5. We have our returning learners. So they are students who have not taken, prior to Penn Engineering Online, have not taken a course or a class in quite some time. So they'll be on tomorrow. And if you're wondering, Monday we had our Women in Tech, Tuesday we had our international students, and last night we had our students with families. So it's been a packed week, and it's really been great. And I know that everybody that's been on the webinar has been learning a lot. So it's been great for me as well. So I didn't introduce myself. I'm Jackie Panto. I am the admissions recruitment manager, and I work with the rest of the admissions team helping applicants learn the programs, and we help them through the application process. Also with us today is Adrienne Yoder, and she's going to be on in a little bit, and she will be telling you all about the resources and how to be successful in the program and how to connect with the community. So I just want to go over a couple of, if we bring the presentation up, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items with everybody about the webinar. So yes, there we go. So we are being recorded, so there is no need to frantically take notes, and we are going to edit out all of the beginning parts of this as well. So we'll just start right with the webinar when you watch it on the recording. But again, there's no need to take notes, and you can go on and watch past webinars. You can watch any of the other webinars from the series this week if there's another group of students that you might be interested in hearing about their journey, and all past webinars, you can go on and view those as well. They're a great resource. If you have questions, please use the Q&A function in Zoom. Type out your questions throughout the webinar. We have an admissions team behind the scenes. They're answering your questions, so you'll get your questions answered through that Q&A session. And then at the end of the webinar, the last 30 minutes of the webinar, our student panelists will be joining, and they'll be answering questions as well. So lots of great information. I'm going to jump right in right now. I just want to give you a little bit of background on our 2 programs that we offer here at Penn Engineering Online. Our first program is our Online Master of Computer and Information Technology, otherwise known as our MCIT online program. And this is really, this is a very unique, one-of-a-kind program, because it's one of the only programs out there that offers a very tailored computer science master's program for non-computer science majors. So you've never had to take it, you don't need any computer science. If you've never taken a computer science course in the past, that's fine. MCIT still could be the program for you. What you do need is that quantitative aptitude, and you do need to be able to show that quantitative aptitude and show proof of that on your application. And the admissions team can help explain that a little bit more if you have questions about that. The MCIT program, the online program, it was built upon the success of our on-campus program. So it's a tried and true program because of our on-campus program. And it's the same professors, it's the same degree. And again, it's built upon that excellence. So it really is a great program. Our second program is our Master's of Science in Engineering and Data Science program, and we call that our MSEDS online program. And this is really, it's for those folks that really want to take a deep dive into data engineering, into data science. So taking that deep dive into big data systems and deep learning and all things along those lines, and really looking to focus on data science, data engineering, careers. To be qualified, what I wanted to go over is to be qualified to apply to this program, you really should be falling into one of 3 areas. So criteria 1 is you have an undergraduate degree in computer science. Criteria 2 would be maybe you don't have an undergraduate degree in computer science. You may have a minor, or maybe you took some computer science coursework. So maybe at least 4 computer science courses. And then that last criteria of eligibility would be if you had an undergraduate degree in a highly quantitative program or a highly quantitative field, plus you've had 2 years of work experience as a software developer or a software engineer. So that kind of shows you the differences between the MCIT and the MSEDS online programs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Adrienne, and she's going to go through what it's like in terms of resources in the Penn community. So it's all yours, Adrienne.
Great. Thanks so much, Jackie. And hello, everyone. It is so great to have you all with us. My name is Adrienne Yoder. I'm the Student Success Manager for MCIT, and I'm one of the advisors for the MCIT program. We also have advisors specifically for MSEDS. And part of our job as advisors at Penn Engineering Online is to listen to our students, to hear, what you all need, and to make sure that we have the support and resources for you to successfully get through your program. We are here for you every step of the journey as you're adjusting once you come into the program, as you're adjusting to your online course format, as you are figuring out, how to balance your work and life responsibilities. We're here to help you with that. We also have great resources on campus and online that you can use to support you during your journey. So I'll just go over that a little bit today in this slide. So first thing I want to talk about for resources is our campus cultural centers. We have quite a few cultural centers on campus of people get to meet who have similar backgrounds. So for instance, we have the LGBT Center, we have the Women's Center, we have the Black Student Center. These are all places where if you want to connect with people who share similar experiences to you, you can reach out and do so. And they are completely amenable to working with online students. So I know they host virtual events, and you can talk to any of their administrators there. They're great support, and they are have been great partners for the online students. Secondly, another great resource is the Penn Library. As an online student, you will have full access to online journals and publications. You even get to do things such as stream movies through the Penn Libraries for free. It's a great resource connected to just like world-class information and research. And so I highly recommend that as a student, you completely take advantage of that. There's so many good things on there. We also have robust services for our alumni. As an alum, you actually still get access to many of the job platforms that you need as a student. So Handshake, which is where you can connect with employers. You also are connected to a service called My Penn, which is actually the like Penn equivalent of LinkedIn. And it's where you can get connected with any Penn alum and learn a little bit about them. On their profile, it says what their major was, where they're located now, how you can get in touch with them. It's a great resource. And we also, host events throughout the year that alumni, our online engineering alumni can join as well. Another thing I'm sure you all are thinking about is, what can I do with my degree once I graduate? Well, we have a whole team of people that can help support you in figuring that out. So we actually have our own dedicated advisor for career services for online. That's Emily Perry. She's the Associate Director of Professional Development. She will work with you to look at your resume, to help you with your job prep, help you with your interview prep. But on top of that, what she does and what her team does is connect you to employers through the online career fair, through webinars and information sessions and recruitment sessions. So there's a whole world of resources for you as an online student to get connected with your possible job prospects. And we know this is really important to students, so we make sure that it is fully robust for all of you. Next, you actually, as an online student, also have eligibility for financial aid and scholarships. So with financial aid, you can, as an online student, take you can take up to two, or you can take as few as 2 classes to qualify for financial aid. And on top of that, there are scholarship opportunities that you will learn more about as you are completing the application. And lastly, we have a very robust online community. This is something we are most proud of. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that now to tell you how you can get connected with the online community. All right, so firstly, we actually have our own student association for MCIT Online. This association does many, many things. They host events, social events, networking events. They send out surveys to hear from students about how things are going. They host the mentoring session. If you want to get involved and give back and also meet people from your cohort and outside of the classroom, this is a great way to do so. We don't have any student groups yet for MSEDS. However, this is, we are currently in our very first semester for MSEDS, and this is something I know Tracy Stoidel, who is the advisor for MSEDS, is thinking about and hoping students can get this started soon. Next, we have a whole myriad of events that we host throughout the year. We do meetups, both online and in person, meet and greets where students can network. We also host 2 very large events on campus that we invite all of our students to, both past and present. The commencement event that happens every May, and our homecoming Fall Fest event where we invite all of our students to. It is a great opportunity to meet students, and we have a whole weekend packed with activities for you all to participate in. We also do regular webinars where you can meet with the program director, you can meet with new faculty, you can learn about new electives. Those are great opportunities to connect about your academics. And I want to say a little bit more about meetups. I did mention we do in-person and online meetups. What's really cool about the online space is that there are a bunch of different ways you can connect with students who live close to you. And we've actually seen students, in the breaks between the semesters, do meetups in New York City and San Francisco. I actually got to host a meetup in Salt Lake City when I was visiting there. So it does happen. Students are very eager to get to know each other. And lastly, there are a lot of ways that you can communicate with each other online. We know that the online experience, can be isolating, but we really find that it is important for you to connect with your community, and we want to make sure that you have the support and resources to do that. So the very first thing, that I tell all students to do is get into the student Slack workspace. That's where you can communicate with current students in real time. And this is also where you can meet students with similar interests to you. This is where you can meet those students who might be in your area. You can also meet students that want to connect on maybe certain career paths. There's lots of ways to get connected through Slack. And as a lot of our students describe, our Slack workspace is sort of like the lifeblood of the program. So, that's really important you get in there once you join. And another space, something I'll be talking about more soon, is Ed Discussion. This is actually where you can connect not just with current students, but you can connect with your faculty and your teaching assistants in your courses. So we'll talk a little bit more about that course support now. Yeah, so, a big part of being in the program is making sure that you feel like you have all the tools that you need to be successful in your classes. And our course team is working tirelessly to make sure that's happening. So once you join our courses, you will view your courses in the Canvas workspace. So Canvas is a learning management system. Probably you might be familiar with this if you have used things like Blackboard or Moodle. Canvas is similar to that. And our team is in the background making sure that you have all of your assignments are open correctly, all the dates are set correctly. If you're having any issues, they work with you to make sure you can figure that out. They're also the team that if you're having difficulty and need an extension for something, they'll work with you and they'll update Canvas to make sure that any changes you need to make are reflected in there. Our course team also makes sure that you all have the ability to talk to a teaching assistant or an instructor in real time. So they actually schedule office hours and recitations round the clock. We know that so many of our students are coming in from many, many different time zones, and we want to make sure that we have office hours that that any student can join in from any time zone. So we have, people that are over in Europe that might need, an office hour that's midnight for me. We have scheduled our office hours to accommodate that. On top of that, our course team works to troubleshoot any issues that you're having. It can be issues that you might be having with the Canvas platform. It could be issues that you have even with your assignments. You'll be able to communicate through that ed discussion message board where you can message with the TAs and instructor about what's going on, and you will get a response within 24 hours guaranteed. So we work with you through any troubleshooting issues that you might have to make sure that you are getting the things that you need. And lastly, and one of the most important things too is that we want to make sure that you're doing okay and that you're doing well in your courses. And so if we see that you're struggling, or if you reach out to us and you're worried about something, we have a whole team of TAs, of course managers, of advisors who will work with you to make sure that you have all the support that you need for your courses. So you can reach out to us anytime, but also if we see that you might be having trouble with something, we'll also reach out to you. So you have a whole team behind you in that area. And so talking a little bit more about teams, we actually have ways that our students get involved in supporting fellow students. They can do so through these 3 different ways: through doing the teaching and learning practicum, through being an academic coach, or through being a teaching assistant. I'll tell you a little bit about the teaching and learning practicum and the teaching assistants first. So teaching and learning practicum, teaching assistants, these are folks that work in the course with students to help grade assignments, to hold office hours and recitations, to be in the message boards and answering your questions. If you want to take that a step further, you can actually join the teaching and learning practicum. It's a little bit different from teaching assistants because there is a pedagogy component that's attached to it. So it's a course that you would sign up for. You would listen to a few lectures, I think do a few assignments. It's not as much heavy dedication to the coursework for that as you would have in your other courses. You do get a satisfactory or unsatisfactory grade at the end of it. But it is a great opportunity for people who are thinking that, maybe they want to teach in the future, or maybe you're overseas and you're not able to be a teaching assistant. This is really helpful for students that are thinking about that. And for academic coaches, if you want to take it a step further and you want to help students not just with their coursework, but also in thinking about the adjustment to Penn Engineering Online or to being a new student, academic coaches are a great opportunity to do that. The way I look at academic coaches they are people that are sort of between a tutor and a mentor. So they can talk to students about their coursework, but they can also talk to them about how things are going, in their personal life and in their academic life. Are things balancing out well? Is there anything they need help thinking through as they're thinking through time management or thinking about balancing, their coursework with their job? Academic coaches help fellow students figure that out. And academic coaches actually specifically work with incoming students. So if you join, our program, that's something you can anticipate in the first semester, is to have a coach with you, supporting you the whole time. All right, so that's a little bit about our resources. I think I'm going to pass it back to Jackie now, and then pretty soon after that, we'll get started with the Q&A.
Thanks so much, Adrienne. I just wanted to spend a minute going over some application details, and then we'll get right to to hear from our students and questions and answers. So just real quick, I know some of you may have started your application or you're thinking about starting it maybe this coming weekend. So just wanted to spend a little bit of time on that. Of course, with the online application, you are going to need an updated resume. You'll also need to complete a personal statement and upload that to the application as well. With the personal statement, we just want to make sure that we remind you to answer all questions that are listed in that section under the application. So there's quite a few prompts with the personal statement. You want to make sure as you're writing your statement, you're hitting every one of those questions. We want to find out what you're all about, and those questions and answering those questions will help us to do that. So make sure you don't leave any of those out. We do need unofficial college transcripts, and we do need transcripts for every college that you attended. So if you went to several colleges, don't just send us the school that you graduated from. Be sure you send us transcripts for every school that you have attended. Letters of recommendation, we only need 2 letters of recommendation. We need to receive 2 letters of recommendation to read your application, but we strongly urge that you solicit for 3 recommenders. And the reason why is this element's out of your control. Letters of recommendation must be in by due date. If they're in late, then your application may not get read. It will be considered late and we won't read it. So if you seek 3 recommenders, then you have that safety net in case one doesn't get it in on time. So definitely want to seek 3 recommenders if you have 3 good ones that you can reach out to. The GRE is optional. No need to send in a GRE if you don't want to. Many applicants use the GRE to show their proof of quantitative ability. But again, it's up to you. It does not really matter to us if you submit or not submit. It depends if you need that to build a stronger application or not. And then the TOEFL is for those applicants that are not U.S. citizens or U.S. permanent residents, and English, is not your native language, then you would have to submit a TOEFL. If you went to a university where English was the primary language and the courses were taught in English, then you could then submit a TOEFL waiver, which is all part of the application. If you've started the app or submitted the app, you can check the status of it through the online portal. You can log back in. If you're wondering if your recommender submitted their letters yet, you can go right back in, check your portal, check your status page, and you can see if letters of recommendation or anything else has been submitted. So that's a great way to check your application. In terms of deadlines, we do have a deadline coming up. March 1st is our early application deadline. And the important thing to know about early application deadline is that's when all of the Dean's Master Scholarship applications are due as well. So if you are interested in the Dean's Master Scholarship, the only time you can apply to that is for the early application round. So those are due March 1st. And again, that's all within the application itself. There's an area where you can apply for the Dean's Master Scholarship right within the application. And again, that's March 1st. Regular deadline would be May 2nd. So you have some time if you're waiting to apply to May 2nd for a regular application deadline, which is May 2nd. And then all of our classes will start in August. So that gives you some information about the application. If you have any more questions or need additional information, please email us or sign up for office hours, and we're going to show you how to do that at the end of the webinar today. So I'm going to pass it back over to Adrienne, and we're going to meet our students today, and I'm so looking forward to hearing from them. So take it away again.
Great. Thank you so much, Jackie. And we are so excited today to introduce to you Brianna Malcolm and Mein Wen. It is so great to have you both here. We really wanted to hear from, students of color, what your experience has been in the program so far, and navigating the world outside of Penn Engineering Online once you get into the tech world or whatever it might be, what that's been like. So thank you both for being here. We really appreciate it. It's great to see you. All right. So let's hear from you guys. Tell us a little bit about your background and what your experience has been at Penn Engineering Online. Let's get started with Brianna.
No problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Brianna Malcolm. My background is in mechanical engineering, and I'm currently working full-time as a mechanical hardware design engineer at IBM. I specialize in designing and building the cables for mainframes. And my experience so far at Penn has been wonderful, very challenging, don't get me wrong, but it was very interesting to get the just the background knowledge to help with my work, right? So with my education in mechanical engineering, I know how things fit with each other, but applying it to computers, I was missing that. So I've been learning a lot about that at Penn.
Great, that's awesome. Thanks, Brianna. I have a question. The position that you're in now, is that something that you were doing when you started the program, or has that changed since you joined MCIT Online?
It's the same position when I started the program.
Nice. Cool. Well, great. Thanks so much. All right, Mai, let's hear a little bit from you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I started the MCIT program in fall 2020 and just finished my last semester in December of 2022. So just a month ago.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Very exciting. But I already kind of missed school already, so I don't know. But before that, my bachelor's degree is in chemical engineering, and I worked as a chemical engineer in the water treatment industry before that. So currently I work as a software engineer in the greater Boston area. I mainly develop in C++. And MCIT has been a big part of this transition. I'm very grateful for the program and the community and for all of you here for that. It was a very grueling, but like Brianna said, wonderful 2.5 years. So I hope to share some of this great experience with you all today.
Thanks, Mai. It's so great to hear that. And I'm so happy for you now that you've graduated and you've moved on to your, software engineer position. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more from you both. So let's see, our next question, what opportunities does Penn Engineering Online offer for you to feel included within the community? So Mai, why don't we get started with you first on this question?
Sure. My favorite thing about MCIT has always been the people. I think there's a tremendous sense of community within the program, and everyone is willing to help one another. Like Adrian said, I think our Slack community is very active and robust, and I definitely agree about finding people with similar interests there. I've personally found like lead coding buddy groups, gardening groups, all of that fun stuff, and met incredible friends there. I also think our professors are amazing, like subject matter experts, but also very good at connecting students to alumni. So for example, Professor Boone, who teaches computer systems programming, he routinely introduces students to his old students and who are now Penn alumni to us in his classes, and I've always appreciated those segments. So Professor Boone is also consultant for multiple startups, and so he has a lot of great industry knowledge and could share some of that with you as well in his office hours if you're interested. And finally, we have MOSA, as Adrian has mentioned, which is our students club. I've personally involved in MOSA for a while and highly recommend if you're interested in giving back to the community that way.
Great, thanks, Mai. That's so great to hear about Dr. Boone, sharing those resources with you. I also know that when Dr. Boone travels, he will frequently meet up with students. We actually had him he met up with students in Singapore and he shared pictures with us, and it was just great to see him there. Definitely. Awesome, thanks, Mai. Yeah, so Brianna, tell us a little bit about your experience.
My experience has been very similar to mine. Trying to think how I could diversify the answer. If anything, I would add the in-person events made a huge difference for me. So I started in spring of 2021. So campus was still shut down and due to the pandemic, and there weren't official meetups, of course, with the Slack channel communities. Students will still meet up, study together, and those are always fun. But last year I went to the first Fall Fest, and that was an incredible experience. Like, wow, this is the university I'm at. So that's tons of fun. And of course, there's virtual events as well, such as coffee chats. I went to a session about like Huga, just the like how to live a happy life, right? So it's more than just engineering all the time. Like on my side, there's gardening clubs, there's foodies, there's a community for you at Penn.
Great, thank you. I'm actually curious, and maybe Brianna, you want to talk about this a little bit? I'm curious about the community you experience through your courses, you know, how you get connected to other students in your courses, like if you're looking for a partner in a group project, you know, what that could look like. So do you have any insight on that?
I send a lot of help messages on Slack. I've seen some people do it formally through like a discussion board, but I'm the type of person where I would say like, hey, I'm not struggling to grasp this concept. Does anybody want to form a study group with me? And it's very interesting seeing people from different time zones. Like some of my peers, they're out in the West Coast, and it's be at midnight just studying with them. Like, oh, it must be nice. The sun's still up on your side or whatever. Like, you know, little things like that. But it was just great to reach out to somebody and like you know, just express your feelings about the course and really get to the nitty-gritty to better understand the material.
Yeah. Oh, great. That's great to hear. Thank you. All right. So for both of you, I have the question, you know, what first sparked your interest in working in the tech industry? And what first sparked your interest specifically with the MCIT program? So Brianna, why don't we start with you?
Sure thing. What sparked my interest in tech industry? It started at a young age, like in middle school. So growing up, I would do a lot of projects around the house with my dad. We would like build bookcases or like build like model cars, stuff like that. And like, this is so cool. But I was like, what do I want to be when I grow up? So my dad suggested engineering. You have the aptitude. Why don't you do research to see like if this is a path you want to go down? I'm like, I'm totally in. So here I am, still an engineer, loving it. What interests me in this program particularly is I loved how diverse the cohorts are. And even though my background is in mechanical engineering, there wasn't a real emphasis on programming, but I can see like that is the way of the future, right? And it can make your job so much more efficient if you can just find ways to automate it or just better understand the computer system. And so I figured, okay, this could be a great degree for me. And so far, it's been proven. It's been a great degree. And I'm in the MCIT Online program, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so what interested you in the MCIT program and also in the tech industry?
Sure. So in my previous job, I did some controls programming and dabbled a little bit in data analytics and data science, mostly with Python to help customers troubleshoot. So when I started, I was interested in applying my engineering background to a more data-focused setting in general, and was exploring a career transition to either data science or software engineer. But I knew that I wanted a strong foundation in computer science regardless. So that's when I knew that MCIT would be the right program to get me there.
Yeah, a good transition into that for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So talking about that a little bit more, we're curious to hear from you why you think it's important for more students of color to join the tech industry. And I'll also expand that a little bit further, why you think it's important for students of color to be part of the computer science discipline. Mai, would you like to get started on that?
Sure. Yeah, I think as a woman of color who's been working as an engineer, which is a male dominant field, I always feel like representation is a super important part of how I think about my career goals and motivation. So in fact, recently I listened to an NPR podcast that tried to explain why there were fewer women in tech and computer science these days. And what they were basically saying was that I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to try to summarize it a little bit. What they were basically saying was that there was like a sudden drop in women population in computer science in the mid 80s. And that coincided with the time that computers were started to be advertised to boys as toys, but those ads were not targeted to women. So as a result, these women go to university, and even though they were super great at math and their high school teachers think that they can do it all, they go to class and found out that, you know, their professors were male, and the best students in the classes were boys as well, who have had chance to use computers and code before their time and didn't find good representation of, you know, like seeing that they couldn't see that other women achieve the same thing. So that makes them drop out of that major. So I think that's a great example of how representation affects your mindset, and how good representation would help us all feel included. And so no matter how you identify yourself, I think it's always good and inspiring to see people with similar backgrounds succeed and achieve goals in the same field. So I think, you know, if you feel that way, I would recommend finding, you know, some mentors that can help speak with you about their experience. And I would say that MCIT has been a very safe learning environment for beginners in any field. I think everyone is super open to sharing knowledge, since most students are career transitioners and understand how tough it is to be unfamiliar with materials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mai. And something I want to say about Penn Engineering Online as well is that we want students to be able to connect with each other on, you know, difficult topics, or just talking about their experiences with each other. And we do have mentors and academic coaches that can absolutely help you with that. So, you know, when you get into the program, if you feel like, oh man, I really want to talk to somebody, you know, with this experience or this background, myself as an advisor and any of the other advisors would be happy to connect you. And you can also reach out in Slack. What I found is that our students are so willing to share their experience and help each other, you know, just get through their classes. So thank you, Mai. Yeah, Brianna, can you share a little bit as well?
For sure. Yeah, not only does representation matters, that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, but also it allows for diversity in thought. Because with all these complex problems, you can't just come with it with like one point of view. In order to get a better product that's also more inclusive, it requires different minds, different backgrounds, and people of color, right? And it's also an issue when there's a coded bias, and you would think like, okay, like how is this affecting this community? Because I only know what it's like to be a Black person, but if somebody else from a different race comes in with their point of view, I'm like, oh, that's an issue for you. I didn't realize that, right? So just having all these great minds from different backgrounds come together and make a better product that's more inclusive, that is beyond powerful.
That's awesome. I'm curious, actually, either of you could answer this, but I am curious about in your current workspaces where you are now, do you see initiatives happening where they are promoting diversity of thought or diversity of backgrounds? Or are there movements you're seeing within the tech industry that are doing that?
It is slow in my area, I have to say. If I notice in larger cities, that's definitely where it is gravitating towards, and it's more obvious with advertisements. But in like more factory settings, you can still see there's the old school of thought. But in the time that I've spent at my company, I've noticed things are slowly changing.
Yeah, that's great to see.
Yeah, and I would say I could speak for my company, I see initiatives being created, but also a sense of celebration for diversity, which I definitely appreciate.
That's great. Awesome. All right, we have a few more questions for you. So, oh, this is a question about student services. So are there specific student services that have helped you through the program I mean, this can be anything, but as you think back to your time in MCIT and Penn Engineering Online so far, what has specifically helped you? And I think, Brianna, we can start with you.
Yeah, sure. I really love office hours, open office hours, private office hours. I need a lot of help because honestly, I was the type of person I didn't really focus on in my coding classes in undergrad. And if it wasn't deep in theory. It's more like, oh, we'll use this program in the lab, but the professor did most of the work and we just gotta plug and play. So office hours. And another thing that has helped me is one of my friends from the program actually suggested you should use Ed Discussion more, right? Because the TAs are able to go to your like GitHub repository, or they're better able to sit down and diagnose instead of doing it on the spot in office hours. So there's a lot of tools to help you better understand the material.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to hear you're using office hours. I can never recommend them enough to students. They're so helpful to talk to a TA or an instructor there. Absolutely. And I know you're graduated, but you know, when you were in MCIT Online, were there some student services that were really important to you?
Yeah, definitely. And I could get to that, but just to add on to Brianna's point, I absolutely agree that office hours is an amazing resource. And I would say that, you know, if you're a student in a class and you feel like, let's say you get into an office hour queue and there are a lot of people, for example, you can always reach out to TAs, or TAs are super helpful and they would probably try to schedule something with you. You could even suggest that the professor host more office hours. Those are all flexible things that I think the program is very good at. So please utilize that resource. So I think I would be amiss if I talk about my experience at MCIT without mentioning Emily Perry, our Director of Professional Development, I think is her title, and her wonderful webinars. So Emily hosts regular webinars to help students in the program find work, jobs, internships, and has been a major resource for me to always come back to and refer to her webinars. She walks students through how to cater our resumes to our backgrounds. I think that's very important because everyone in MCIT have such diverse, different background. Everyone has a different story, and how to put that story on one single page sometimes is difficult. She also does an amazing job at connecting students to Penn alumni and sends job postings to different student groups from companies that might be relevant. So
Great. Yeah, Emily Perry is just really wonderful at her job, and I know that she's wanting to do even more for our students. So we may see all the offerings change or grow even more in the next few years. So that's great to hear.
that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, I'll have to let her know. All right, great. All right, and now your final question, one of my favorite questions actually, is do either of you have advice that you would like to give to students coming into the program with similar backgrounds, experiences as yourself? And I think, why don't we get started with you?
Sure. I think my first advice would be that I hope you can be yourself and stay engaged. Don't be shy about reaching out. When I look back at my MCIT experience, the most enjoyable moments have been ones when I was willing to get out of my comfort zone and reach out for help and meet new people. Our community embraces and, like I said, I think celebrates diversity, and I felt supported whenever I share my stories and reach out for help. And the second thing is that just echo what Brianna said about our fantastic TAs. We have wonderful, wonderful TAs. I cannot say enough good things about them. All of my experience working with our TAs have been incredibly positive. They are willing to help and knowledgeable and passionate about teaching. I think that's important. So please feel free to reach out to them whenever you need help with your class materials and you feel stuck. Because I found that sometimes just verbalizing and sharing my questions with TAs can help me understand the materials better. And finally, my last piece is that MCIT, I think in my opinion, is a marathon and does not have to be a race. So I hope that you can freely choose classes in a pace that works for yourself and enjoy each learning moment while you can. So that's it.
Yeah, thanks, Mai. And you've touched on such an important point, I think, with our program. We have students that, are taking these classes at their own pace, what works best for them. A lot of our students have full-time jobs, or they have a family, or they're a caretaker, and, the program isn't always their first priority. If you need to do one class a semester, that is completely fine. We actually have a whole club for students that are doing it one semester. They call themselves the Turtle Club, self-named the Turtle Club. Yeah. But if you want to be a student full time and you want to take 3 courses at a time, that's totally fine as well. It's whatever pace works best for you. Great, thanks for sharing, Mai. And Brianna, what advice would you give to students with similar experiences or similar background as yourself?
I have to say, you belong and you were accepted to the program for a reason, right? You show the aptitude and you don't have to do it all by yourself. Even though it could be kind of daunting being online, like, well, I'm by myself, I know like who to reach out to. There's office hours, right? You can talk to TAs, that is perfectly acceptable. There's the various communities on Slack, and there's meetups. The staff does an incredible job to try their best to make sure everybody belongs in various time zones. It's not just Eastern time zone, right? I've seen some peers out in Germany kind of like say like, oh, this office hour doesn't work for me. Is there something we can do? Or the staff is like, okay, well, we'll make sure you're seen and you can be successful in this program despite the time zone difference, because I believe all the staff is based in the East Coast, as well as, yeah, just reach out. It's a wonderful community.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brianna. Thank you both. I see we're almost at time. It has been so great hearing from you, and I feel like I've learned even so much. I thought I knew everything I could know about MCIT Online, but it's so great to hear about your experiences. Great. So Jackie, I think I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was wonderful. You guys did a great job explaining your journey, and I love your advice, and this is wonderful. So thank you so much. I just want to take a couple of minutes before we leave to go over what happens after this webinar and what some of your next steps might be. So if after you leave us today, and you have more questions or more questions come up, here's some areas that you can reach out to us or find the answers to your questions. First would be our FAQ database. So if you want to, if you have a question, go online, go to our website, type in a question in our search bar, and there most likely will be the answer there. We have so many questions and answers in our FAQ database. So that would be my first stop if I had a question, and definitely peruse that website. Lots of valuable information. In addition, you may want to email us. Email us anytime. Our email's on the screen there. The admissions team, we really do try to get back to everybody within 24 hours. So always email us your questions. We will get back to you. You also could register for a private appointment. The admissions team has office hours. We actually have office hours now every single day of the week, the work week anyway, Monday through Friday. And then as it gets closer to deadline, so coming up in just another couple of weeks, we'll also have Saturday hours. So if you go on the website, at the top of the website, go to events, scroll through events to office hours. And if you click on there, that's where you can schedule your office hours. But while you're on that events section of the website, please be sure to take a look at all the other events we have for the month of February. Again, we have one more webinar tomorrow for our returning learners. We have another webinar scheduled in a couple of weeks where we're going to have one of our MCIT professors joining the webinar with us. I believe it's February 16th, but don't quote me. Check the website for that. And then we also have tons of coffee chats. The admissions team hosts coffee chats, and it's kind of like a group office hours. So we are taking questions from everybody that's on the coffee chat, obviously one at a time. But the great thing about it is you might not think of a question, and you come on that coffee chat and you hear questions that you didn't even think of, but they're great questions, and you're finding out some great information. So I highly recommend, if you can join us for a coffee chat, to do so. And then lastly, obviously you joined us today, which is fabulous, but if you want to get even more information, please request information. The link is there at the bottom of the slide here. But you want to formally request information, that'll put you into a different category where we're constantly, or regularly, I guess I should say, keeping you updated on deadlines, anything about the application, financial aid information, whatever the case may be. We're just trying to update you on a regular basis as information comes down the line about deadlines and the application process or anything else that's happening, and also new events that we schedule. So we've given you a ton of information. I hope that we've answered all your questions. If you've had any concerns, I hope they've been eased. And thank you all so much. Everybody did a great job, and we appreciate you all being here. So thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.